The repair bay smelled of oil and burnt metal. Kim Tae-ho wiped his greasy hands on his work pants and looked at the broken engine in front of him. It was his third repair job today, and the station clock showed it was almost midnight. His back, hurt from bending over machines all day. New Seoul Station never slept. Ships came and went at all hours, bringing cargo and passengers from dozens of different worlds. The station floated in space between three major trade routes. Down here in the Undercity where Tae-ho worked, the air was thick and the lights were dim. Rich people stayed in the upper levels with clean air and bright shops. Tae-ho was 28 years old and had been fixing machines since he was 15. His hands were always dirty, and his clothes always smelled like engine oil. He lived alone in a small room behind his workshop. Most days he was happy with his simple life. The door chimed and Tae-ho looked up. A tall man in an expensive suit walked into his shop. Behind the man came two workers carrying a large metal box. "Are you Kim Tae-ho?" the man asked. "Yes, sir." "Do you have a machine that needs fixing?" Tae-ho said. The man shook his head. "I am Attorney Lee. I have come about Park Do-won." Tae-ho felt his stomach drop. Do-won was like a father to him. The old trader had found Tae-ho on the streets years ago and taught him how to survive on the station. Do-won bought and sold strange things from distant worlds. Sometimes he brought Tae-ho small gifts or shared stories about his travels. "What about Do-won?" Tae-ho asked quietly. "I am sorry to tell you he died 3 days ago. His heart stopped while he was sleeping. He left something for you in his will." The attorney pointed to the metal box. "He said you were the only person he trusted to take care of this. He paid me to bring it to you personally." Tae-ho stared at the box. It was about the size of a small refrigerator and had air holes in the sides. Something was alive inside. "What is it?" Tae-ho asked. "The papers say it is called a Korith. It comes from a world called Vorth Prime. Mr. Park paid a lot of money for it, but he said it was sick. He hoped you could help it." The attorney handed Tae-ho a thick folder of papers. "Everything you need to know is in here. The creature is now legally yours. Mr. Park also left you some money to help take care of it." After the attorney left, Tae-ho stood alone in his workshop, staring at the box. He could hear soft, whimpering sounds coming from inside. Very carefully, he opened the latches and lifted the top. Inside was the most pitiful creature Tae-ho had ever seen. It looked like a small wolf, but was pure white all over. Its fur should have been thick and beautiful, but instead it was thin and patchy. The creature was no bigger than a house cat. It lay curled in the corner of the box, breathing heavily. Its eyes were bright violet, but they looked tired and sad. "Hello, little one," Tae-ho said softly. "My name is Tae-ho." The white pup lifted its head and looked at him. For a moment, they stared at each other. Then the pup tried to stand, but its legs were too weak. It fell back down with a soft whine. Tae-ho reached into the box very slowly. He had never touched an alien animal before. The pup did not try to bite him. Its fur felt soft, but he could tell the creature was very thin under all that fur. Very gently, Tae-ho lifted the pup out of the box. It weighed almost nothing. He could feel its heart beating fast against his chest. The pup made a small sound and pressed closer to Tae-ho's. "Warmth, you are really sick, aren't you, little one?" Tae-ho whispered. He looked more closely at the pup's white fur. There were dark spots moving under its skin. The spots were small, but there were many of them. They moved around like tiny insects crawling inside the creature. Tae-ho opened Do-won's folder with one hand while holding the pup with the other. The papers were written in several languages. Most of it was legal documents about ownership and import permits. At the bottom was a handwritten note from Do-won. "Tae-ho," the note said. "This little one is called Hanul, which means sky in the old language. She is very rare and very special. The Vorth people who made her are all gone now. She is sick with something called Velnar. No doctor on the station will help her because her species is restricted. I tried everything I could think of, but I am old and tired. You are young and smart, and you never give up on broken things. Maybe you can save her. She deserves someone who will fight for her. Take care of her for me. Your friend Do-won. Tae-ho felt tears in his eyes. Do-won had always believed in him even when Tae-ho did not believe in himself. Now his old friend was asking him to save this dying creature. He looked down at Hanul. The pup was looking up at him with those beautiful violet eyes. She seemed to understand that he was deciding whether to help her or not. I don't know anything about taking care of alien animals, Tae-ho said to her. But Do-won trusted me to try. I guess we will figure this out together. Hanul made a soft sound that might have been agreement. She closed her eyes and seemed to relax in his arms. Tae-ho spent the rest of the night reading through Do-won's papers and setting up a comfortable bed for Hanul in his workshop. He found some basic information about Korith diet and behavior, but nothing about the parasites making her sick. When morning came, Tae-ho knew he had to find help soon. Hanul was getting weaker. She would not eat the food he offered, and she could barely lift her head. He made a decision that would change both, their lives forever. He was going to save this little alien pup no matter what it took. Tae-ho carried Hanul through the busy corridors of New Seoul Station. The little white pup was wrapped in a soft blanket and barely moving. People stared at them as they walked by. Most had never seen a Korith before. The medical district was on level 7. It was much cleaner than the undercity where Tae-ho lived. The walls were white, and the air smelled like disinfectant. Tae-ho felt out of place in his dirty work clothes, but he did not care. Hanul needed help. The first veterinary clinic refused to see them as soon as they heard the word Korith. The second clinic said they did not treat restricted species. The third doctor took one look at Hanul and shook his head. I cannot help you, the alien doctor said. His skin was blue, and he had 4 arms. This creature has Velnar parasites. They are impossible to remove. Even if I wanted to help, there is nothing I can do. Please, Tae-ho said. She is dying. There must be something. The doctor's expression was sad but firm. Take her home. Make her comfortable. It will be over soon. Tae-ho left the clinic feeling angry and hopeless. In his arms, Hanul whimpered softly. Her breathing was getting weaker. He remembered Do-won mentioning a human scientist who worked in the research section. Her name was Dr. Lee So-young. Maybe another human would be willing to help. The research facility was harder to get into. Tae-ho had to convince 3 different security guards to let him see Dr. Lee. Finally, they escorted him to her laboratory. Dr. Lee was a woman in her 30s with short black hair and kind eyes. She wore a white lab coat covered in strange stains. When she saw Tae-ho holding Hanul, her expression changed to concern. What happened to this poor creature? She asked. Her name is Hanul. She has parasites called Velnar. Every doctor says she cannot be saved, but I will not give up on her. Dr. Lee carefully examined Hanul under a bright light. She used a small scanner to look at the dark spots moving under the pup's skin. This is fascinating, she said quietly. And terrible. These parasites are like nothing in our medical databases. Can you help her? Tae-ho asked. Dr. Lee was quiet for a long moment. I could lose my job for treating a restricted species. The paperwork alone would take months. Please, Do-won said she was special. She deserves a chance to live. Something in Tae-ho's voice made Dr. Lee look at him more carefully. She saw the determination in his eyes and the gentle way he held the dying pup. Bring her back tomorrow morning, she said finally. I will run some tests. I am not promising anything, but I will try. Tae-ho felt hope for the first time since opening the metal box. The next morning, he brought Hanul back to the laboratory. Dr. Lee had prepared several pieces of equipment. She also introduced Tae-ho to her friend Choi Min-woo. Min-woo was a thin young man who worked with computers. He had glasses and spoke very fast when he was excited. I spent all night researching Korath and these parasites, Minwoo said. The information is very limited because the Vorth homeworld is restricted. But I found something interesting. He showed them images on his computer screen. The Vorth civilization disappeared about 200 years ago. They were known for advanced biotechnology. Korath were their companion animals. But look at this. The screen showed old pictures of healthy Korath. They were much larger than Hanul, and their fur was thick and beautiful. Some were different colors, but a few were pure white like Hanul. The white ones were special, Minwoo continued. They were called workshop guardians. They helped the Vorth with complex technical work. Dr. Lee carefully took blood samples from Hanul, while Tai Ho held her still. The pup was too weak to struggle. Under the microscope, the parasites looked like tiny machines more than living creatures. These are not normal parasites, Dr. Lee said. They have metallic components, almost like microscopic robots. Robots? Taeho asked. You mean they are machines? Partly. They seem to be a combination of biological and mechanical systems. This is Vorth biotechnology. Minwoo pulled up more research. I think these might not be parasites at all. What if they are supposed to be helpful, but something went wrong? They spent hours studying the samples and researching. Taeho watched Hanul getting weaker while they worked. She had not eaten anything in 2 days, and her breathing was very shallow. That evening, Taeho took Hanul back to his workshop. He made a comfortable bed for her next to his workbench. As he worked on repairing engines, he talked to her softly. The doctors think you might get better, he told her. We just need to figure out how to fix those little machines inside you. Hanul opened her violet eyes and looked at him. For a moment, Taeho thought he saw understanding in her gaze. I fix machines every day, he continued. Maybe I can learn to fix the machines inside you, too. The next morning, Hanul was worse. She would not lift her head when Taeho called her name. Her fur was becoming more patchy, and the dark spots under her skin were spreading. Dr. Lee ran more tests, but the results were not good. The parasites were multiplying faster than before. I do not understand, she said. Usually parasites try to keep their host alive. These seem to be consuming her completely. What if they are broken? Taeho suggested. What if they are supposed to help Korath, but they are malfunctioning? That is possible. But even if we understand what went wrong, we still do not know how to fix it. That night, Taeho barely slept. He held Hanul against his chest, trying to keep her warm. Her heartbeat was so faint he could barely feel it. I will not let you die, he whispered to her. Duwan believed I could save you. I have to find a way. Taeho watched the little white pup struggle to breathe. Her chest rose and fell in quick, shallow movements. The dark spots under her skin had spread everywhere now. Even her beautiful violet eyes were becoming dim. It had been 5 days since. He inherited her from Do-Wan. 5 days of watching her get weaker, while doctors told him nothing could be done. Taeho refused to accept it. There has to be something, he said to Dr. Lee. They were in her laboratory at 3 in the morning. Some information we missed. Dr. Lee looked tired. She had been working around the clock trying to help. I have contacted every expert I know. The Vorth databases are all classified. Without knowing how these nanosystems were supposed to work, we cannot fix them. Taeho paced back and forth while holding Hanul. Then we get into those databases. That would be illegal. The Vorth homeworld is under galactic protection laws. I do not care about laws. She is going to die if we do not do something. Minwoo looked up from his computer. I might know someone who could help, but it would be very dangerous. He told them about Nam Ji-hoon. Ji-hoon was a young hacker who specialized in breaking into classified systems. He worked from the deep levels of the station where security was loose. He helped me once before when I needed research data for my job, Minwoo said. But accessing Vorth files could get us all in serious trouble. Taeho looked down at Hanul. She was so still he had to check if she was still breathing. "Set up a meeting," he said. 2 hours later, they met Ji-hoon in an abandoned storage room in the station's lowest level. Ji-hoon was barely 20 years old with spiky hair and nervous energy. He wore clothes covered in electronic patches and carried a small computer that looked like it was built from spare parts. "You want me to hack into Vorth archives?" Ji-hoon said after Minwoo explained the situation. "Do you know how many security layers those files have?" "Can you do it or not?" Tae-ho asked. Ji-hoon looked at Hanul sleeping in Tae-ho's arms. "What is wrong with her? She has broken nanomachines inside her body. We need the original programming to fix them." "Nanomachines!" Ji-hoon's eyes lit up with interest. "That sounds like fun. Okay, I will try, but it will cost you." "How much?" Tae-ho asked. "Not money. I want to see how you fix her when we get the data. I have never seen nanotechnology reprogramming before." They agreed, and Ji-hoon got to work. His fingers flew over his keyboard as he broke through security system after security system. It took him 6 hours, but finally he smiled. "I am in. Downloading. Everything about Korith nano enhancement systems." The files were huge, thousands of documents about Vorth biotechnology and Korith physiology. But buried in all that information, they found what they needed. The nanosystems were called Velnar, which meant life helpers in the Vorth language. They were designed to enhance Korith health and abilities, but they needed regular maintenance signals from Vorth control devices. When the Vorth disappeared, the maintenance stopped, Dr. Lee realized. The nanosystems kept working, but without proper control, they became destructive. "So we need to send them a reset signal," Tae-ho said. "It is not that simple. The signal has to be exactly right, or it could make things worse, and we would need special equipment to generate it." Tae-ho studied the technical specifications. The reset signal was complex, but not impossible to create. It would require combining medical equipment with computer systems in ways they were not designed for. "I can build this," he said quietly. "Tae-ho, this is not like fixing engines," Dr. Lee warned. "If we make a mistake, we could kill her." "She is already dying. We have to try." They spent the next day gathering equipment. Captain Yoon Hye-jin was a smuggler who owed Tae-ho a favor. She provided some hard-to-find medical components from her ship's emergency supplies. "You are crazy for trying this," she told Tae-ho. "But I respect crazy. Good luck, little brother." Back in his workshop, Tae-ho began building the reset device. He combined a medical scanner with computer processing units and signal generators. Dr. Lee helped with the biological aspects while Ji-hoon programmed the control software. It took 2 days to build. The device looked like nothing that had ever existed before. Cables and circuits connected medical instruments to computer hardware in ways that should not have worked but somehow did. "Are you sure about this?" Minwoo asked as they prepared for the first test. Hanul was barely alive. She had not moved in hours, and her breathing was so faint they could hardly see it. The parasites had consumed almost everything healthy in her small body. "If we do nothing, she dies," Tae-ho said. "At least this gives her a chance." They placed Hanul on the scanning bed and activated the device. The reset signal was invisible, but the computer showed it was transmitting at exactly the right frequency. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Hanul's body began to shake violently. The scanner showed her heart rate spiking dangerously high. "Something is wrong," Dr. Lee shouted over the noise of alarms. The parasites were reacting to the signal, but not the way they hoped. Instead of shutting down, they were becoming more active. Hanul's small body convulsed as millions of nanomachines went haywire inside her. "Turn it off," Dr. Lee commanded. Tae-ho shut down the device, but it was too late. Hanul's heart stopped beating. The scanner showed a flat line. "No." Tae-ho grabbed the tiny pup and began pressing on her chest, trying to restart her heart. "Come back. Please come back." Dr. Lee prepared an injection while Tae-ho continued CPR. The pup was so small, his fingers covered her entire chest. "Please, Hanul," he whispered. "Do not leave me. I promised Do-won I would take care of you." For 3 terrible minutes, her heart did not beat. Then suddenly the scanner beeped. A weak but steady rhythm appeared on the screen. Hanul was alive. But barely. The failed treatment had made her even weaker than before. Tae-ho held her against his chest, feeling her tiny heartbeat. But something had changed. Some of the parasites had actually shut down during the crisis. Not many, but enough to give them hope. "The signal worked partially," Dr. Lee said, studying the readings. "We just need to refine it." "Can she survive another attempt?" Tae-ho asked. Dr. Lee looked at the small white pup breathing softly in his arms. "I do not know, but without trying she will not live another day." Hanul survived the night, but she was weaker than ever. Tae-ho had not slept. He sat in his workshop holding the little white pup and watching her breathe. Every breath seemed like it might be her last. Dr. Lee arrived early with new scanning equipment. "I studied the data from yesterday," she said. "Some of the parasites did shut down properly. The ones near her heart and lungs." "Why only those ones?" Tae-ho asked. "I think they were closer to death." When her heart stopped, the dying parasites received the reset signal more clearly. It gave them an idea. Maybe they needed to target the parasites in smaller groups instead of trying to reset all of them at once. Ji-hoon worked on modifying the software while Tae-ho rebuilt parts of the device. Instead of sending one powerful signal, they would send many smaller ones focused on different areas of Hanul's body. "This is going to take much longer," Dr. Lee warned. "Multiple treatments over several days. She might not be strong enough." Tae-ho looked at Hanul. The pup opened her violet eyes and looked back at him. He thought he saw trust in her gaze. "She is tougher than she looks," he said. "We will take it slow and careful." They started the new treatment that afternoon. This time, instead of one massive reset signal, they sent targeted pulses to small groups of parasites. The device Tae-ho had built could focus the signal like a precise tool instead of a hammer. The first session lasted only 10 minutes. They targeted parasites in Hanul's front legs. This time, there was no violent reaction. The pup trembled slightly, but her heart rate stayed normal. When they scanned her afterward, they found something amazing. The parasites in her legs had not only shut down, but had begun working properly. Her muscle tone in those areas improved immediately. "It worked," Dr. Lee said with excitement. "The reset signal is teaching them how to function correctly." Over the next 3 days, they continued the treatments. Each session targeted a different part of Hanul's body: her back legs, her digestive system, her spine, and nervous system. With each successful treatment, Hanul grew stronger. She began eating small amounts of food. Her breathing became deeper and more regular. The patches in her white fur started growing back thick and healthy. But the most amazing change was in her behavior. As the nanosystems began working properly, Hanul became more alert and active. She started following Tae-ho around his workshop. When he worked on engines, she would sit nearby and watch with intelligent eyes. "She is much smarter than a normal animal," Dr. Lee observed. "The nanosystems must be enhancing her brain function too." On the 4th day, something unexpected happened. Tae-ho was calibrating the reset device when he heard a voice in his mind. Not words exactly, but feelings and simple images. Gratitude, warmth, connection. He looked down and saw Hanul staring at him with her bright violet eyes. The feelings were coming from her. "Dr. Lee," he called out, "I think Hanul is trying to communicate with me." Dr. Lee ran more scans. "The nanosystems in her brain are creating new neural pathways. She may be developing limited telepathic abilities." Through this mental connection, Tai-Ho began to understand more about Hanul. She showed him images of her memories, the Vorth who had created her people, the workshop where she was supposed to serve as a guardian and helper. She was not just any Korith. She was bred specifically to work with engineers and builders. Her enhanced intelligence and developing psychic abilities were meant to help solve complex technical problems. No wonder Do-Wan wanted me to have her, Tai-Ho realized. She is a living tool designed to help with exactly the kind of work I do. The final treatment was the most difficult. The parasites around Hanul's brain and major organs were the oldest and most entrenched. They had been consuming her life force for months. Tai-Ho worked for 12 hours straight, calibrating the device for maximum precision. One mistake could cause permanent brain damage or death. His hands were steady as he made tiny adjustments. To the signal generators. "Ready?" he asked Dr. Lee. She checked all the monitors. "Hanul's vital signs are stable. Beginning final sequence." This time, the treatment took 2 hours. They watched the scanners carefully as the reset signals targeted the last groups of malfunctioning parasites. Halfway through, something wonderful happened. The parasites began shutting down in cascading waves. As each group was fixed, it helped stabilize the next group. The nanosystems were finally working together as they were designed to. When it was over, Hanul looked completely different. Her white fur was now thick and lustrous. Her violet eyes were bright and alert. She had grown to twice her previous size and looked strong and healthy. But the biggest change was mental. Through their telepathic connection, Tai-Ho could feel her intelligence. She was not just smart for an animal. She was genuinely intelligent in her own right. Word about the successful treatment spread quickly through the station. Other scientists wanted to study how they had reprogrammed Vorth nanotechnology. Traders asked about buying Korith for themselves. Min Wu was excited about the implications. If we can reverse engineer this technology, it could revolutionize medicine for dozens of species. But Tai-Ho was not interested in fame or money. He was just happy to have saved his friend. That night, he sat in his workshop with Hanul curled up beside him. Through their mental link, she shared feelings of contentment and belonging. She had found her purpose working alongside her chosen partner. "Tomorrow we will start working together," Tai-Ho told her. "Do-Wan was right. You were meant to help fix things." Hanul sent back an image of them working side by side, repairing complex machines. But mixed with the image was a warning. Other people would want to take her away now that she was valuable. Tai-Ho understood. Their partnership was just beginning, but already there would be challenges ahead. 3 days later, those challenges arrived at his workshop door. 2 weeks after the final treatment, Hanul was completely transformed. She now stood as tall as Tai-Ho's waist, with thick snow-white fur that seemed to glow under the workshop lights. Her violet eyes held an intelligence that amazed everyone who met her. But the most remarkable change was their working partnership. Through their telepathic connection, Hanul could understand complex technical problems and help Tai-Ho solve them in ways he never imagined possible. When a ship's navigation computer arrived with intermittent failures, Tai-Ho spent hours trying to find the problem. Then Hanul approached the device and placed her paw on its surface. Through their mental link, she showed him an image of a microscopic crack in one of the circuit boards. "How did you see that?" Tai-Ho asked in wonder. Hanul projected feelings of enhanced perception. The nanosystems in her body could detect electrical patterns and structural flaws that normal senses could not notice. Their first major success came when the station's water recycling system began producing contaminated water. The station engineers had been working on it for days without success. Tai-Ho and Hanul examined the massive machinery together. While Tai-Ho checked the mechanical components, Hanul used her enhanced senses to scan for problems in the biological filters. She found something the engineers had missed. One of the bacterial cultures was mutating due to radiation exposure from a poorly shielded power conduit 3 levels away. The fix required both mechanical repairs and biological adjustments. Incredible, the station manager said, when clean. Water started flowing again. How did you two figure out what we missed? Hanul sees things differently than we do, Tejo explained. Together we can solve problems neither of us could handle alone. Word of their success spread throughout New Seoul Station. Ship captains began bringing them their most difficult repair jobs. Scientists asked for consultations on projects involving both technology and biology. But the attention also brought unwanted visitors. Dr. An Jae-sung arrived from the Central Worlds Research Institute with a team of assistants and official documents. He was a thin man with cold eyes who spoke in precise sentences. "Mr. Kim Tae-ho," he said, walking into the workshop without invitation. "I am here about the Korith." Hanul immediately moved to stand between the strangers and Tae-ho. Her fur bristled, and she made a low warning sound. Through their mental connection, Tae-ho felt her alarm. "What about her?" Tae-ho asked. "This creature represents a breakthrough in nanobiotechnology. It must be studied properly by qualified scientists. You cannot possibly understand the significance of what you have accomplished." Dr. An gestured to his assistants, who began setting up scanning equipment without asking permission. "The Korith will be transferred to our research facility immediately. You will be compensated, of course." "No," Tae-ho said firmly. "Hanul stays with me." "You do not understand." Dr. An's voice became sharp. "This is not a pet. It is a living example of extinct alien technology. The knowledge we could gain from studying it could benefit all of known space." Hanul pressed closer to Tae-ho and sent him images through their link. She showed him memories of other Korith being taken away by strangers and never returning. Her fear was so strong it made his chest tight. "She is not an it," Tae-ho said angrily. "Her name is Hanul, and she chooses to stay here." "Animals do not choose," Dr. An replied coldly. "They follow their programming. The nanosystems have simply made it more attached to you." To prove his point, one of the assistants tried to scan Hanul with a handheld device. She backed away and made a sound of distress. The moment the scanner touched her, the nanosystems began malfunctioning. Alarms from the device filled the workshop. Hanul collapsed as her enhanced abilities overloaded. Her breathing became rapid and shallow, just like when she was first dying. "Stop!" Tae-ho shouted. He knelt beside Hanul and placed his hands on her trembling body. Through their connection, he sent feelings of safety and calm. Gradually, her breathing steadied and the nanosystem stabilized. But the message was clear. Hanul's health was directly connected to her emotional state and her bond with Tae-ho. Dr. An stared at the readings from his assistant's device. Fascinating. The nanosystems are emotionally responsive. This is even more valuable than we thought. "Get out of my workshop," Tae-ho said, standing up. Hanul stood beside him, looking much larger and more intimidating than her actual size. "You are making a mistake, Mr. Kim. We have legal authority to requisition alien artifacts of scientific importance." "Hanul is not an artifact. She is my partner." Dr. An smiled without warmth. "We will see about that. I will return tomorrow with proper authorization." After they left, Tae-ho held Hanul close while she recovered from the stress of the encounter. Through their mental link, she showed him her fears about being separated from him. "I will not let them take you," he promised. "Do-won trusted me to protect you, and that is what I will do." That evening, Dr. Lee and Min-woo came to the workshop to discuss what had happened. "Dr. An has a reputation for being ruthless," Dr. Lee warned. "He will use every legal method to get what he wants. Then we need to show that separating Hanul from Tae-ho would be harmful to her," Min-woo suggested. "If she needs their bond to survive, they cannot justify taking her away." "How do we prove that?" Tae-ho asked. Hanul approached them and placed her paw on Min-woo's computer. Through her connection with Tae-ho, she projected an idea. She wants to show them what we can accomplish together, Tae-ho realized. Something so impressive they will have to acknowledge our partnership. The next morning, Dr. An returned with Admiral Park Sung-ho and a team of security officers. Admiral Park was an older man with kind eyes who seemed uncomfortable with the situation. "Mr. Kim," the Admiral said, "I understand your attachment to this creature, but you must understand our position. Technology this advanced could help millions of people. Then, let us help people together," Tae-ho replied. "Hanul and I work as a team. Separating us would destroy what makes us effective." "Nonsense," Dr. An interrupted. "The creature's abilities exist independently of any emotional attachment." At that moment, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency announcements called for all available engineers to report to the main life support center. "What is happening?" Admiral Park demanded. "Primary life support failure," came the reply over the communication system. "Backup systems are failing one by one. We have maybe 6 hours before total system collapse." Admiral Park looked grim. 20,000 people live on this station. If life support fails completely, they will all die. Tae-ho and Hanul exchanged a look. Through their mental connection, they both understood this was their chance to prove the value of their partnership. "Give us access to the life support systems," Tae-ho said. "Hanul and I can fix this." "This is not a game," Dr. An snapped. "Qualified. Engineers are already working on the problem, and they are failing," Tae-ho pointed out. "What do you have to lose by letting us try?" The main life support center was in chaos. Engineers from a dozen different species worked frantically at control panels while emergency lights flashed red throughout the massive chamber. The air already felt thicker and harder to breathe. Chief, Engineer Wong looked exhausted and desperate. "We have isolated the primary failure to Sector 7, but the backup systems keep shutting down faster than we can repair them." "It is like the whole network is connected somehow," Admiral Park gestured to Tae-ho and Hanul. "These two want to help. The human claims he and the Korith work as a team." "I will try anything at this point," Chief Wong said. "But be careful. 1. Wrong move could accelerate the cascade failure." Tae-ho and Hanul approached the central control system. It was a massive network of biological and mechanical components that regulated air, water, and temperature for the entire station. Through their telepathic link, Hanul shared what she sensed. The life support system was not just machines. It included living bacterial cultures and organic filters that worked together in complex ways. "The problem is not mechanical," Tae-ho announced to the room. "Something is interfering with the biological components." He placed his hands on the control panel while Hanul pressed her paw against a biological sensor array. Together, they traced the cascade of failures back to their source. Hanul's enhanced senses detected something the other engineers had missed: a microscopic contamination in the bacterial cultures that was spreading through the entire system. But it was not natural contamination. Through their connection, she showed Tae-ho what she found. Microscopic machines similar to her own nanosystems, but much simpler and programmed for destruction. "Sabotage," Tae-ho said grimly. "Someone introduced nano-destroyers into the biological filters." Dr. An pushed forward to look at the readings. "That is impossible. Our security would detect any such devices." "Not if they were designed to mimic natural bacteria," Tae-ho replied. "Hanul can see the difference because her nanosystems recognize the artificial patterns." Admiral Park's expression became very serious. "Can you stop them?" Tae-ho looked at Hanul. Through their mental link, they discussed possibilities. Her nanosystems might be able to create a counteragent, but it would require perfect coordination between them. "We can try," Tae-ho said, "but we need direct access to the contaminated sections." They worked their way through the life support network with Hanul, using her enhanced senses to guide them to the worst contamination points. At each location, Tae-ho jury-rigged connections between the mechanical systems and biological filters. while Hanul used her nanosystems to neutralize the sabotage devices. It was dangerous work. The nano-destroyers fought back, trying to corrupt Hanul's systems. Several times she staggered and nearly collapsed as hostile programming tried to invade her enhanced biology, but their partnership held strong. When Hanul weakened, it.HFY provided stability through their mental connection. When it.HFY struggled with unfamiliar biological systems, Hanul guided his hands to the right components. Hours passed. The air grew thinner as backup systems continued, failing. But slowly, section by section, they cleaned out the contamination and restored proper function. Dr. An watched in amazement as readings throughout the chamber returned to normal. "How are you doing this?" he asked. "Hanul can see the nano-destroyers and reprogram them to self-destruct," it.HFY explained without stopping his work. "But she needs my mechanical skills to access the right systems and my mental connection to stay stable while fighting hostile programming. You are saying the Korith needs you specifically, and I need her. Neither of us could fix this problem alone." The final contamination was in the central processing core. It was the most heavily infected area, and the nano-destroyers had mutated into more aggressive forms. Hanul approached the core and placed both front paws on the biological interface. Immediately, her body began trembling as millions of hostile nanomachines attacked her systems. it.HFY put his hands on her back, sending all his strength through their mental connection. "I am here with you," he said quietly. "We can do this together." Through their link, Hanul projected her nanosystems into the infected core. It was like watching a battle fought on a microscopic level. Her nanosystems fought to reprogram the destroyers while they tried to corrupt her in return. For several terrifying minutes, it could have gone either way. Alarms blared as both systems pushed against each other. Then gradually, Hanul's systems began winning. One by one, the nano-destroyers were reprogrammed to become repair systems. Instead of destroying the biological filters, they began healing the damage they had caused. Throughout the chamber, readings returned to normal. Fresh air flowed through ventilation systems. The cascade failure had been stopped and reversed. Chief Wong stared at his control panels in amazement. "Life support is not just restored, it is running better than it has in months." Hanul collapsed from exhaustion, but her tail wagged weakly as it.HFY gathered her in his arms. Through their connection, he felt her satisfaction at a job well done. Admiral Park approached them with new respect in his eyes. "That was remarkable. 20,000 lives saved because you two worked together." Dr. An studied the readings from his scanners. His cold expression had changed to one of scientific fascination. The Korith's nanosystems adapted and evolved during the repair process, he said slowly. "They learned from the hostile programming and developed new capabilities. This level of adaptive intelligence is unprecedented." Admiral Park nodded thoughtfully. "Dr. An, I am beginning to understand Mr. Kim's point. The Korith's abilities seem to depend on its emotional bond with its partner. But think of what we could learn," Dr. An protested. "The applications for this technology could revolutionize medicine and engineering across the galaxy." "And they will," Admiral Park replied firmly, "but not by separating a successful team." He turned to it.HFY. "Mr. Kim, I am prepared to offer you and Hanul a position with the Colonial Engineering Corps. We are planning humanity's first deep space colony ship, and we need innovative problem solvers." it.HFY looked down at Hanul, who was recovering her strength in his arms. Through their mental connection, she projected images of vast ships traveling between stars and new worlds waiting to be explored. "What would we do?" it.HFY asked. "Help design life support systems that can sustain 50,000 colonists for a 20-year journey. The biological and mechanical integration required is beyond anything we have attempted before." Dr. An stepped forward. "Admiral, if they are going to work on such an important project, they should be based at our research facility, where we can study their methods properly." "No," Admiral Park said decisively. They will work where they are most effective, together and in their own way. He handed Tae-ho an official document. This contract makes you both civilian specialists with the Colonial Engineering Corps. You will have access to any resources you need and complete freedom to work as you see fit. Tae-ho read through the contract carefully. The terms were generous, and the work sounded challenging and important. Most importantly, Hanul would remain his partner, not a research subject. "We accept," he said. 6 months later, Tae-ho stood in the observation deck of the orbital shipyard watching the massive colony ship take shape. The vessel was 5 kilometers long and designed to carry an entire human city to a distant star system. Hanul sat beside him now, fully grown and magnificent. Her white fur gleamed, and her violet eyes reflected the stars visible through the viewport. Through their mental connection, she shared her sense of pride in what they had accomplished together. The life support systems they had designed were revolutionary. Instead of purely mechanical systems, they had created hybrid biomechanical networks that could adapt and evolve during the long journey. The technology combined human engineering with principles learned from Hanul's nanosystems. "The ship launches next week," Tae-ho said to her. 50,000 people will depend on systems we helped create." Hanul projected feelings of satisfaction and anticipation. Through their bond, she shared images of the colony ship reaching its destination and establishing humanity's first permanent foothold in deep space. Dr. Lee approached them carrying a data pad with the latest test results. "The biomechanical interfaces are performing perfectly," she reported. "The integration between organic and artificial systems is seamless." Min Woo joined them with his own reports. "The colonial government has approved funding for 12 more ships based on our designs. They want us to head the entire deep space colonization program." And Dr. An Tae-ho asked. "He has been transferred to a different project," Admiral Park said, walking up to their group. "One more suited to his talents for pure research rather than practical applications." Through the viewport, they watched as the colony ship's massive engines were installed. Soon it would carry human families to worlds that had never seen intelligent life before. "Do-won would be proud," Tae-ho said quietly to Hanul. "He knew you were special, but I do not think even he imagined this." Hanul sent back feelings of gratitude toward the old trader who had brought them together. Without his faith in both of them, none of this would have been possible. As they watched the stars together, Tae-ho reflected on how much had changed since that night when he first opened a metal box and found a dying alien pup inside. He had gained not just a partner, but a friend who understood him in ways no one else ever could. The universe was vast and full of challenges that no single person or species could face alone. But together, humans and their alien partners might accomplish things that neither could imagine on their own. The colony ship would launch in 7 days, carrying humanity toward its destiny among the stars. And somewhere in its hybrid biomechanical heart would be the legacy of an old trader's faith in a young mechanic and a dying Korath pup who refused to give up on each other. Their bond had saved one life and changed the future of human space exploration. It was proof that sometimes the most powerful force in the universe was not technology or weapons, but simple compassion between different forms of life. Hanul pressed against Tae-ho's side and shared one final image through their connection. The two of them standing together on the bridge of a starship, sailing between galaxies with new friends and new challenges waiting among distant suns. The future was bright, with infinite possibilities.